Present for this session and welcome to the last session of the course MMPH 007 Compensation and Reward Management. So friends, today we are going to have the last session of this particular course, and what we are going to discuss is the impact of this compensation and reward management on the motivation, job satisfaction, and the implications of this compensation and reward management for the corporate restructuring itself. We have understood the concept of compensation. We have understood the various aspects of compensation, like the basic compensations, the additional benefits such as fringe benefits, what we have given it to the employees, right? And at the same time, we have understood the job evaluation, the wage surveys, the implication of legalities, the on the compensation and reward management itself. So all of those aspects related to the compensation we have already understood. Now let us talk of certain practical aspects, like what is the impact of this compensation on the employees of the organization. We'll see that. So first we are going to discuss the impact of compensation on the motivation, and we'll see the impact of compensation on job satisfaction. And next we'll see how this compensation is or why the requirement of compensation is there for the restructuring of the organizations, right? So whenever we do talk of this motivation, we say that motivation is all about a set of attitudes and values, right, that predisposes the person to act in a goal-directed manner. So motivation is an inner desire, inner aspect of the employees, which propels the employees to exhibit their goal-directed behavior, to accept the goal and to move in the direction of accomplishment of that particular goal. But question is that whenever we do talk of this motivation, what role that this compensation plays for motivating the employees? We have understood the basic concept of human resource management as the process of acquiring people, utilizing them, motivating them, and retaining them. And in all these four different aspects, the role of compensation is highly significant. Right? So unless and until you do have this competitive compensation packages, market-driven compensation packages will not be able to, attract manpower for your organization. You will not have good manpower for the purpose of procurement. Similarly, when it comes to utilizing them, utilizing the best resources available to you, unless and until the compensation will provide them satisfaction, they will not be utilized to the extreme. And when it comes to motivation, definitely compensation plays a very important role. Now, what we need to understand is what sort of compensation can really motivate the people, and what sort of compensation packages that you need to design, right? What can really help the employees to achieve their goal-directed behavior. That's what we need to understand. So if we talk of all those need theorists, right? We're talking of the fundamental one, Maslow's need priority model, or maybe McGregor's Alderfer's ERG model, or McClelland's need achievement model, McGregor's X and Y, all of those things, like what we need to understand. So if we do say one of the fundamental aspects, like Maslow's need priority model, if we'll see, so that consists of, it says that human needs and wants are unlimited, and one need is fulfilled, the other emerges, and in the process they form a hierarchy of needs, right? What it starts with the basic physiological needs, then the safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and actualization needs. So if we do compare the Maslow's need priority model with Alderfer's ERG, right? This physiological need can be compared with physiological, and safety needs can be compared with existence needs. Social needs of Maslow can be compared with related needs. Esteem and actualization can be compared with the growth needs. Similarly, if we talk of McClelland's need achievement model, we do talk of need for achievement, the need for belongingness to others, the need for growth. It's an organizational based model, right? So need for power, all of those, the exact terms, right? So what we need to understand that all of these needs of the people are classified into two categories. One is a lower order need, the second one is a higher order need. Now, the lower order needs are like this physiological, safety, and social needs. Right? Lower order needs are the needs what the people need to satisfy their existence. But higher order needs are the needs which people need to fulfill because of their aspirations and growth, right? So we can understand it when we compare this need priority model with Hertzberg's two-factor theory. What we need to understand is uh, Herzberg proposed a concept, said the opposite of dissatisfaction is not satisfaction. Opposite of dissatisfaction is no dissatisfaction. Similarly, opposite of satisfaction is no satisfaction. A very important aspect of this compensation that we need to understand. Right? So, what Herbert proposed that all these lower order needs, like physiological, safety, social, to fulfill these lower order needs, employees need money. The only one source through which they can fulfill these lower order needs is money. So the compensation aspect which we need to consider is to fulfill their physiological, social, and safety requirements. Now, the basic compensation package that I'm providing to the employees, if that is not sufficient enough to fulfill their physiological, safety, and social needs, then the employees will be dissatisfied. If I am not able to, or my compensation plan is not able to fulfill the lower order requirements of the people, then the employees will be dissatisfied. But can I ensure that, okay, I'll give that much of compensation to the workers which can fulfill their physiological, safety, and social needs? Will that make the employee satisfied? No. That will remove the level of dissatisfaction. That will remove the level of dissatisfaction. You need to understand. So, providing the basic compensation aspects, which can really remove the level of dissatisfaction among the employees, or which will able to fulfill all the lower order needs of the employees, should be considered as the base of this compensation package. The minimum amount which can really fulfill the lower order needs of the people, right? Or in Herzberg's two-factor theory, he has classified it as the Heisen factors. So if the compensation package I'm giving will not be able to provide those Heisen factors or lower order needs, employee will have dissatisfaction. But providing those lower order needs, they will not have dissatisfaction. But question comes, what can really motivate the employees then? What can make the employees satisfied? So for that, Herzberg say is the higher order needs as compared to Maslow's need priority model, right? We do talk of the esteem and actualization need. We do talk of need for achievement. We do talk of growth needs as for Alderfer. So people are motivated, understand, people are motivated only if their higher order needs are satisfied. If I'm not providing those extra benefits out of the compensation benefits, which can really fulfill the higher order needs of the people, then people will not have satisfaction. To make the people satisfied, I need to think of providing those higher order needs, those aspects of compensation which can really resolve or provide the higher order needs of the people itself. So what are the things that comes over here? So when we understand that the base compensation, right, which includes, the basic wages and salaries, the DA as a part of the basic pay, and different sort of you know allowances, incentives we to talk of, right? Bonus we to talk of. These are some of the basic requirements of the employees to fulfill their lower order needs. But what is the requirement of higher order needs? What sort of factors we need to take? So here we need to understand that when the employees are keen to satisfy their higher order needs, we need to provide them different benefits beyond the normal compensation practices. So employees' esteem needs, actualization needs can be satisfied with the various sort of fringe benefits that we need to provide. Sometimes we need to establish some of the recognition programs, employee recognition programs, employee reward programs, right? So that gives them recognition in the entire organization. They are motivated by that, they are satisfied by that, right? So employees, we say that beyond this reward management, we need to talk of various administration of various trophies, certificates, some special kind of thing like dinner with boss, right? Some employee recognition programs are to be included, which really motivate the employees and that satisfies the employees. So when we talk of all of those aspects of the compensation, right? So employee recognition program like employee of the month award, employee of the quarter award, the best employee of the month whose name will be displayed in the company's notice board or in the company's electronic board, right? That gives them some sort of recognition that provides them satisfaction. So whenever we talk of these compensation practices, we need to understand that these compensation practices will not take the basic aspects into consideration, but at the same time, these compensation practices should take the additional benefits what the workers do get, or the recognition programs, the reward programs, what the employees do receive from the organization, that will motivate them for a longer period of time. So it's a holistic aspect. It's not confined to the compensation administration only. It's a holistic aspect. And that is why it has been taken as a part of the compensation program. Beyond that, whenever we talk of the satisfaction level of the employees, sometimes the basic amenities like the housing facility, the transportation facility, medical facility, and the recreational facilities, all of those, absence of those are making, or absence of those makes the employees dissatisfied. So if I need to remove that level of dissatisfaction, the minimum welfare aspects of the employees should be taken into consideration. Housing, transportation, canteen, medical, all of those aspects are to be covered. So that is the reason why you need to understand that this compensation program, compensation policy of the organization has to be designed in such a way that that will help the individual employees to fulfill their lower order needs and higher order needs. Lower order needs, fulfillment of this lower order needs removes the level of dissatisfaction, whereas fulfillment of higher order needs motivates the employees to their goal-directed behavior, the accomplishment of the goals. Right? But most of the time, we do talk of beyond this need priority, we talk of this employees' behavior in terms of social comparison. What it says that mostly employees do compare their packages with the packages, compensation packages of other people, maybe in the same organization or from other organization only, right? So they compare their compensation packages and analyze how fairly they have been paid in the organization, right? So we need to understand some of the social comparison theories also. One of the fundamental comparison theories is this equity principle. We have, like in our previous sessions, I was telling you that this equity principle compensation is based on the principle of equity and fairness. Equity principle is to ensure that all the people in the organization, they are paid equally in terms of individual equity. So two people working in the same profile should be paid equally. Job related equity, job equity, right? In terms of the position, they should be paid equally. And external equity, what other organizations are paying. So equity theory says that mostly, people will make a fair relationship with others and try to rectify the unfair relationships by making them fair. So they do have a comparison in a simpler sense. To say that individuals make certain contributions, that is their inputs to the organization, and in return of their contribution, whatever they do receive, as we have understood, compensation is the process where employees do receive some sort of financial and non-financial benefits, right? So whatever they do receive, the rewards, that is treated as their outcomes, right? So employees contribute, that is their input. Employees receive some reward, that is their output. Okay. Now what would happen? Individuals decide whether or not a particular exchange is satisfactory by comparing their inputs to the inputs of others and their outputs to the outputs of others. Okay. Say, we do talk of this, like if the person compares with any such other person, it is represented as, person is represented as P and other person is represented as O, right? Capital O stands for, the outcome, the reward, and I stands for the input. So what it happens? Now the formula says output of the person divided by input of the person. Right? So it's a ratio. What I am contributing to the organization and in return what I am getting back from the organization. So what output I am receiving against my input. Right? Similarly, what output the other people do receive against their input. They do compare. Right? So comparisons could be like anything. Say I work for 8 hours, I am getting 10,000 rupees. My colleague is working for same 8 hours, he is getting 12,000 rupees. Right? I work for 5 hours, I am getting 10,000 rupees. My colleague works for 8 hours, he is getting 10,000 rupees. Right? So how much contribution you are making to the organization in terms of your hours of service or in terms of your productivity, and in return, what you are getting, rewards, benefits, wages, right? You compare it with others, right? So what it says, there can be three possible equations that we can develop out of this. So output of the person as compared to the input will be less than that of output of other person in comparison to the input of other person. So if I do think of myself, I said I am being paid less than the other person. I am contributing whatever I am getting for my contribution, that is less than that of the other person, right? So this is a case of inequity, what we call it as underpayment inequity. I am paid less than the other person, right? Similarly, it may so happen that the kind of input I am giving and the return I am getting is greater than that of the other people, whatever input they are giving and the output they are receiving. So that is what we call it as a overpayment inequity. I am being paid more than that of others. Right? So in this case, in these two cases, either the case of underpayment inequity or overpayment inequity, these are the two cases which actually is a problem for the individual. Right? So the basic assumptions of equity says that human beings, right? Human beings are always being tensed, right? Or are in tension in case of any kind of perceived inequity. And they are motivated to reduce the level of inequity, thereby reducing the level of tension, and would like to have equity at the place of work, right? So whenever we do talk of equity, actually is the output of the person against the contribution of the person should be equal to output of others against the contribution of others, right? So process is that sometimes these inequities, it's a known process, sometimes these inequities create tension, and there's a human tendency that they would not like to be under tension for a longer period of time. So they would like to reduce the level of tension. So that is the reason what it happens that in the process of reducing the level of tension that people do have, they are motivated. So sometimes you can make the application of this motivational theories, equity theory, to motivate your employees. Right? Sometimes this principle of inequity has to be created knowingly to ensure that people do motivate and exhibit more productivity at the place of work. Right? Efficiency should be more, productivity should be more, all of those things. So sometimes you need to create underpayment inequity or overpayment inequity, but you need to understand that any such kind of inequity, if you do say, that creates a tension among the workers, and workers do have a tendency of producing more to minimize the level of inequity. We would like to have equity at all the time, right? So the principle of equity related to this compensation management is based on that unless and until we do have this equity, there would always be a level of dissatisfaction among the employees, right? This social exchange will not be fair enough. They will always go for a comparison and they will always compare their salaries with others and will get demotivated, right? So the principle of equity has to be ensured at the place of work. Sometimes you are going to make the application of that to motivate the employees on a longer term. And one more theory, social exchange that we do have is this expectancy theory. Expectancy theory says it is based on the linkage between the expected reward and the behavior of the employees and the performances of the employees. So here Vroom has come out with three such basic variables. One is the valence, second one is expectancy, third one is instrumentality. Valence is what personal value you will have on the rewards. Like, as I said, one of the theory X and Y of motivation, right? What it says, X category of people, they do divide all the workers into two categories. One is X category of people, the other one is Y category of people. X category of people, they are the people who don't want to take responsibilities, don't want to take leadership positions. Whatever you will do, they will only do that. So they will not take any kind of initiative of their own. So they lack in terms of basic motivation. So when I do have this X category of people in my organization, they are to be motivated by fulfilling their lower order needs, because X category of the people are people who give emphasis in the fulfillment of lower order needs. But if I do have Y category of people in my organization, right, where we do say that the employees are motivated with higher satisfaction of higher order needs, because they're the people who are leaders. They do take initiations, they are enthusiastic, they like to take responsibilities, they take up the charges by themselves, they seek responsibilities and authority, all of those kind of people. Theory Y, right? So theory Y category of people, they are motivated by satisfaction of higher order needs, right? So variance says what personal value the workers do have on the rewards that they are going to get, right? So if I do talk of this X category of people, what do you think? And if I do have this X category of people and in their reward management, right, I'll focus on satisfaction of higher order needs. Will it make value for them? No. Because this X category of people, they are driven by the satisfaction of lower order needs. Right? So these lower order needs of the people are valued by X category. Y category of people, they do value higher order needs, satisfaction of higher order needs, but can really do it. Right? So that is balance. What value they do have on the reward system. Expectancy says that the perceived relationship between given level of effort and the given level of performances. So what level of effort that the individual should come out with so that the individual will achieve the performance goal, performance target, is what we call it as expectancy. How much you are going to give effort. Third thing, it says that relationship between this performance and reward is called as instrumentality. Now, giving this in your way, like say as a student, you have been taking this course of management, right, of business administration. What is the objective that you do have when you are pursuing this particular course? What is the objective that you do have? Some of you may have the objective of getting through a job. Some of you may have the objective of starting your own startups. Right? Some of you may have the objective of going for further studies after having this management course. Right? So different people do have different sort of expectations, different sort of values being associating with the outcome. Right? I need to carry out my own business. So basic managerial skills are required for me. Right? So the person who would like to start his entrepreneurial activities after completion of the MBA degree, for him, marks doesn't matter. For him, what matters is the level of skill that he should gain. So the value is on development of level of skills. The person who intended to go through a corporate or go through any MNCs or any public sector undertakings. So those are the people who value marks because they understand that it's minimum 65% or minimum 70% score, if at all not be possible, then they may not be eligible for any corporate houses or any such kind of public sectors also. Right? So for them, marks are being valued. Right? Second, when we talk of this expectancy, linkage of the effort and the given level of performance. Now you need to make an analysis of your own efforts, how much effort you have to give. Right? Say for example, all of our efficiency is based on our own neural system, right? So sometimes when we say reading, writing practice, what do we say? Sometimes when people, they are dominated by their auditory nervous system. So if they listen something carefully, they can retain it for their life. Some other people whose visual, nervous system is active. So if they see something, they look at something, they can remember it. Some of them, they can really accomplish the objectives by practicing. So different people do have different capacities. It may so happen with you also. Like whenever you have studied in your graduation level or plus 2 level, 10th level, in your school days, you would have observed that some of the people, they study for 2 hours and enough for them, they get good marks. But some others, even if they study for 4 hours, 6 hours, but they are not being able to get that good mark. So what is required is how much effort that you are going to give. That is based on your skill, knowledge and ability. If you are skilled enough, you do have the basic knowledge and your ability is there. So you need to put lesser effort to have the similar sort of performance. But the person who lacks in these skills, knowledge and abilities, you need to put more and more effort, right, to reach to the goal, performance goal, desired performance level. So that is completely based on that. So what is the balance? The value that you are going to have. Expectancy is what sort of effort that you are going to have the performance. And instrumentality says the relationship between performance and reward. So if at all you have accomplished a particular performance level, the reward has to be administered immediately. Right? So if the reward has not been administered immediately, then the reward will not carry out the basic objective of performance. Right? So it has to be administered immediately. Right? What we are going to discuss in the theory of reinforcement itself. So the formula says motivation is a product of balance, expectancy, and instrumentality. Now just think, if any of this factor will have a zero value, then what will be the end result? Say, I'm talking about balance, right? The reward that I'm going to get out of my contribution is not being valued by me. So, shall I come out with the level of motivation? No. If this factor becomes zero, balance factor becomes zero, expectancy and instrumentality, even if it is there, even if that I can come out with the desired performance level with this level of effort, or the performances will lead me to have rewards, right? But at the end of the process, I know that the reward is not being valued by me, right? So motivation will not be there. That's what we need to understand, right? So expectancy theory says that the people should value their reward system. So what makes people to be motivated is what that has been defined. Like we discussed it earlier with this Maslow's need parity model or equity model, Herzberg's two-factor theory. So what are the factors that can be valued by the employees? Whether it's a lower order needs, which can be fulfilled through wages, salaries, allowances, or the fulfillment of higher order needs, starting from employee recognition programs to various sort of welfare facilities, the fringe benefits, all of those. Okay? So what is being valued by the employee and how much effort they should give to their performance level. And once the performance is achieved, means you can think of the desired outcomes, right? So that is what we were talking of, a law of effect or this reinforcement theory. What it says, law of effect says, people contribute in terms of their efforts, and in return, whatever they do receive, right? If it is rewarding for them, they tend to come out with such particular behavior again and again. Okay. So if something which is rewarding for the people will exhibit the thing again and again. But some kind of effort which is a kind of punishment for the workers, right? People would like to withdraw that particular behavior from their aspect. That's what we need to understand, right? So if a desired behavior leading towards benefits, leading towards rewards, that desired behavior will be repeated. But if any kind of desired behavior is punishing or not providing the level of satisfaction, so those kind of desired behavior should be withdrawn, right? So the reinforcement says, whenever we talk of this reinforcement, 4 different sort of reinforcements are there. One is a positive reinforcement, so following a response which have something pleasant, right? So there's a competition, like most of the time nowadays, to boost the motivation of the employees. some of the internal competitions are being organized, okay, based on the target, based on the achievement itself. So what it happens? No, when we are rewarded something what we desire, right, for the kind of our effort, we call it as a positive reinforcement. So something pleasant, something good for me, right? So again, that behavior will be there. Negative reinforcement says somewhere after a particular response, I'm getting certain rewards which is unpleasant, right? We say it's a negative reinforcement. Unpleasant in a sense, the expected values of the reward system doesn't match with the present values of the reward system, right? So what the employees do receive as against what has been promised, if there is a gap, that will lead to unpleasant situations. Okay. Similarly, punishment is because of an unpleasant situation itself, but punishment is to completely eliminate the undesirable behavior, right? So what is that? Say for example, employees are engaged with some sort of indisciplined behavior. So that indisciplined behavior, such as harassment cases, sexual harassment cases against like female workers itself. So that indisciplined behavior are to be eliminated. So that's the reason why punishment is given. Right? And when we talk of extinction, we say that eliminating any such kind of reinforcement that is maintaining a behavior. In a sense, whenever we administer such kind of reinforcements, right? Say salespeople do have a competition, you do have a sales target. Anyone who has or who will complete a sales target of say 5 lakh this month will get a free trip to Goa, right? So that is a positive reinforcement, right? That will motivate the people to accomplish the target as given, to have that trip. But can you continue this sort of effort for a continuous period of time? No. If I will continue it for a prolonged period of time, that will be a boomerang on me. People will not work unless and until there is some sort of reinforcement being administered. Right? So that is what we need to understand, that these reinforcement theories may be positive, may be negative, may be in the act of punishment, but it has to be eliminated, right? When that particular behavior is maintained, right? Otherwise, it will lead to a lot of problem for the entire thing, right? So these are the things that we need to understand. But what we need to understand is certain other social comparison methods like Porter and Noel method. This is a method where we create a link between this compensation and employee satisfaction, level of satisfaction. What makes the employees satisfied? That's what we need to understand from this Porter and Noel model. So there are 4 such factors. One is effort, we have understood, we have performance, we have rewards, then satisfaction, right? So effort means to what extent the people do exhibit their energy to carry out a particular task, right? So amount of energy being executed by the employees, effort. Performances is the individuals, whatever the individual do accomplish because of their efforts is called as performance, right? So it can be, these performances can be individually treated, can also be treated by groups, right? Individual performances, group performances, etc. But you need to understand that these performances will lead to rewards, right? Rewards are the either, as we have understood now, basic reward or the additional benefits, whatever is being administered at the place of work. And satisfaction will be there if, understand, satisfaction will be there if the actual reward will be greater than that of the perceived. Actual reward is less than that of the perceived reward, that will lead to dissatisfaction. Right? In a sense, what is the actual reward and what is the perceived reward? Perceived reward says, like whenever I have been contracted for a particular job, then so there, what it happens? Now, I contribute my best, and in return of my contribution, my expectations are high. Like it happens with these millennials, young generations, whatever coming with them. What they assume is that everyone doing an MBA will have a managerial position, and few people will be there to serve them, you know, in that office work, right? Or few people would be there to assist them. Okay? So, what it happens? The real, reward is less than that of the perceived reward. What makes people dissatisfied in the place of work? But if the actual reward will be more than that of the perceived reward, satisfied. Okay? Most of you, like you can make an application of this in your day-to-day life also. So whenever you are hiring a taxi or an auto, right, you are going for a level of bargaining with them. How much money you are going to take if you drop me here and there, right? So when the auto driver says it's 300 rupees, so what do? You bargain with them, and maybe the rate fixed is at 250, right? And because of this bargaining, when the expectation of the autowala is less, but when you are making a payment more than whatever you have bargained for, you'll see the level of satisfaction that autowala has. Same thing happens over here, right? Whenever we do fix this compensation aspects for the workers, we have understood that this can be fixed through the process of collective bargaining. So whenever this management is functioning with the trade unions or going for a negotiation with the trade unions, right? So they have to fix these aspects of the compensation as it is decided. But whenever you are going for individual aspects of this compensation, so what you need to understand is set their perceived rewards at a lower end, but when they get their rewards, actual rewards will be more than that of the perceived reward, right? So then employees will have satisfaction, right? What I'm telling is, you need to understand this. Provide them leisure amount in the negotiation. Give them more than that. That will be the level of satisfaction. So whenever you are going for any kind of negotiation with the workers, right, you'll see that promise them less, pay them more. Promise them the basic, but along with that basic, you need to think of administering this extra benefits, fringe benefits, medical benefits, transportation benefits, housing benefits, right? So these are the benefits that the workers can get out of their negotiation, right? So that is how this compensation and employees' satisfaction is related. That if we will not have this employee satisfaction, right? We to talk of not have this satisfaction of the employees, then employees will be demoralized. Okay? So we have understood that we need to talk of this compensation package in a holistic way, which will include both the base amount to satisfy the lower order needs of the people, and the compensation benefit should also have higher level of uh, need satisfaction things, higher order need satisfaction things, like we talk of all those benefits, recognitions, rewards being administered at the place of work, right? So higher order needs are like will give them a better benefit, getting, and satisfaction of lower order needs will remove their level of dissatisfaction. Similarly, whenever we to talk of the perceived output versus the exact output, right, in terms of rewards, so that will also lead to a level of satisfaction. If the perceived, like whatever I have expected, I got more than that. Perceived expectations are less than that of the actual goal. Actual should be more than that of the perceived. That will make them satisfied, right? Okay. Now towards the end, we need to talk of the implications of this corporate restructuring for this compensation administration, and what is the linkage of this. Since we say we are living at the age of transition, this 21st century is the age of transition, right, where nothing is permanent. The only one thing that makes the organizations to sustain is change. We say change is the only constant thing in the present day, right? So those organizations who don't change or accept change, those organizations, they do either perish from the market, lose their relevance, extinct. But those organizations, right, which do accept change, they do survive on a long run. We say that Darwin's theory, Darwin's evolution, theory of evolution is applicable for the organizations nowadays. Survival of the fittest, and to be the fittest, what you need to do is to evolve, right? So that evolution, theory of evolution, is equally applicable on the organizations nowadays. If the organizations will not go for the evolution, they will not have a place in the market. So they need to modify, right? So what is required for these organizations nowadays? What is required for these organizations nowadays is to survive through this evolution, right? And what can be done for that? Survival is a question mark. And with the kind of uncertainties happening in the environment, uncertainties around the globe, right? So can I really make the employees responsible for that, for the survival? We said that nowadays, having that competitive advantage will only make the organization sustain. And how the organizations can have that competitive advantage? Quality product, cheaper price. Two things: quality product, cheaper price, or sensitivity price, price sensitivity. How can it be achieved? Okay. When we do talk of this qualitative product, we understand, okay, we are taking many such initiatives to ensure quality in the organization. We talk of this TQM, Total Quality Management Programs, 5 A's, 6 Sigma, Poka Yoga, Zero Defect Programs, Kaizen, JIT, many such kind of quality initiatives has been taken by the organization. So it's not a challenge for me. Challenge is, if I have to talk of this quality, it is directly proportional to price, right? So if I'm thinking of maintaining that quality or providing a higher quality product to my consumers, at the same time we need to understand that their prices will be high. So how I'm going to do it? That I need to achieve my competitive advantage by providing the consumers a quality product, but at the same time with cost effectiveness, right? So that is where the challenge comes in, and we need to understand one thing, that 60 to 65% of the total cost of production is related to the labor cost, maybe direct or indirect. Direct means I'm talking about payroll, indirect means I'm talking about non-payroll. But 60 to 65% of total expenditures made on human resources, made is on human resources, right? So, question is, if I want to reduce my cost, shall I go for reduction of human resources? Shall I reduce the number of human resources so that it will have a direct impact on the costing part and my cost will be reduced? No, you need to understand. Even if I said that, 60 to 65% of the total cost of production is on compensation cost, but we need to understand one thing, that hardly 10 to 12% of the cost on human resources is related to payroll. Rest of the cost is related to the non-payroll related benefits. Non-payroll related benefits. So that is where we need to understand one thing, that the choice of the organization to reduce manpower, right, is a question mark. Nowadays at least. But when I don't have an alternative than to reduce manpower, right? So the process that I'm going to adopt is downsizing or right sizing, right? So this downsizing or right sizing strategy is based on the optimal utilization of resources, right? For a sustainable proposition on the long run, and it should be viable both economically and socially, right? So here we need to understand one thing, that downsizing or right sizing is a strategy to reduce workforce. That's what you need to understand. Right? Hardly you will see that organizations are going for upsizing, but mostly the organizations are going for downsizing or right sizing. This is a known strategy of the organization, right? To get rid of the undesired manpower, right? To reduce the workforce. What is the implication of this on these compensation aspects? When I take off this, organizational restructuring itself. So restructuring is required when these organizations, understand, restructuring is required when these organizations will not have a choice than to surrender themselves. Right? So mostly this happens at the last phase of the organizational life cycle, declining phase. And we do expect a second life cycle of the organization from that. Right? So whenever we talk of this last phase, that they don't have a choice, they need to go for this downsizing or right sizing. Otherwise, you need to think of engaging the people in different ways in your organization. Right? So as an organizational strategy, this organization's corporate restructuring adopts acquisitions, mergers, buybacks, takeovers, strategic alliance concept, small business unit concept. So different sort of strategies are there adopted by these organizations on a long term. Right? So what is required is how this compensation structure has to be linked with the changing corporate structure. Right? Say for example, in case of a merger, right? Two companies are merged into one. So earlier there were two CEOs, now there will be only one. So one has to be compensated now. What is the base of that? Can I have two, like in case of merger or acquisition, whatever it may be, can I have two directors, director of finance or director HR? Can I have two people on both? So what is required is to carry out a fitment process, whereby a proper adoption of this compensation strategy will only help the individual employees to fit into the job that is being defined in the organization. That is what we need to understand, right? So downsizing or right sizing strategy without having any implications of this compensation aspects, right, is not going to help you. Is not going to provide you the desired benefit or desired outcome, right? So, how to make the best possible utilization of your resources, optimum utilization of your resources, that is dependent on the compensation structure that you do have for this compensation organizational restructure, right? But we need to understand, like, what are the basic aspects that actually put a pressure to the organizations to restructure themselves are like mostly structural and changes in the economy or in the enterprise of the organization, changes in the environment, technology, ownership and control, process reengineering, outsourcing, IT, process obsolescence, sicknesses of the people or this corporate failure, we do say, and declining in the employment elasticity. These are the aspects of the organization, we do say. Now, we have understood this in different perspectives, but these are the factors actually what makes the organization to adopt change or restructure their organization, right? And out of the restructuring, they are going for downsizing the organization, right? Beyond that, if I have to talk of the basic internal reasons are like if you do not have a proper HR planning, like absolute HR planning is not possible. 100% HR planning is not possible. But what is required is we'll make a plan which will be close to the desired level of human resources, right? So if the human resources will not be adequate enough, then you need to think of downsizing. If at all you have selected a wrong person, right? You have recruited a wrong person. You have placed him in a position what doesn't suit to his personality. Then also you can think of downsizing, right? If proper training will not be provided, training has not been provided to the employees, and the employees are like in a process of inadequate skill, we can think of downsizing. Improper motivation, reward system is not there properly, right? And substitution of labor with capital. If at all you are going for the automation processes, right? So there also you can think of reducing the labor forces. Right? So compensation, you can say as a whole, with a holistic approach, we can understand that compensation has got tremendous impact on the organizational processes, where these organizations requirement of human resources to their utilization, motivation, and retention, everything is impacted on this compensation. Okay. So let us come to the end of this session. Let us come to the end of the course. compensation and reward management. Right? I hope you have got clarity with all those aspects of compensation, what we need to take into consideration. So let us end up over here. So thank you very much. Have a good day.